Q&A Friday is here. Welcome to it. And welcome to the VoiceOver Huddle. We do it every weekday morning here on the VoiceOver Blueprint YouTube channel. Just trying to get you a little bit of good information to grow your voiceover business. And once again, welcome. My name is Mike Hathcote. I'm a full-time voiceover talent and voiceover coach, author of the book, The VoiceOver Blueprint, which you can get the digital copy and the audio book, plus 4 free gifts with the link below. Don't forget to chime in on the chat, so I can do some shout outs here in a few minutes. And then, of course, since today is Q&A Friday, feel free to pop your questions in and we'll answer those as best I can. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, just so you can get this content quickly and efficiently. All right, let's get right into the questions, shall we? First in today, Wayne Champion from Port Orchard, Washington. Welcome, welcome, and good morning. And there's David from Hamilton, Ontario. And Sean from Longview. Ron says, hello from Grand Haven, Michigan. Is Mallory's Fiverr training program still available? It is, but I would say wait about 3 days, and we've got something coming up. In fact, I'll go ahead and let it out. So we've got a brand new Fiverr training that's going to be on the 29th. And there's been a lot of changes in Fiverr in the last 6 months or so since Mallory did her class. So we've got a new Fiverr training coming out from John Drennan. And John Drennan is a Fiverr super nerd, and he would be the first one to admit that. He lives and breathes the Fiverr algorithm. And he's the one who also teaches our weekly class, our Wednesday night class in the VoiceOver Blueprint. We have those live training webinars every week, well, every day, but he teaches the one on Fiverr on Wednesdays, and he is holding a class, like I said, on the 29th. And I'll have more information about it starting on Monday, because that's when I was planning on announcing it. So you may want to wait until that class, because it's updated for 2025 with all the changes that have happened on Fiverr. It's going to be amazing. John knows everything there is to know about Fiverr and top-rated seller. He was actually very instrumental in myself becoming a top-rated seller on there. And yeah, it's going to be good. So I'll have all the details for that on Monday. So stay tuned. There's Jason from Kearney, Nebraska. And there's David from New Orleans. Edward says, happy weekend eve from Jacksonville, Florida. And there's John from Denver. Happy Friday to you, sir. And another John. Happy Friday from John in Georgia. Now I got to pay attention here. There's Dennis from Grant Park, Illinois. I didn't say Denise. I said Dennis. Now let's see if I actually say it when Denise pops in. There's Jim from Memphis. Clint says, howdy, neighbor. Are blankets that much better than moving blankets for a DIY booth, considering the price difference? That's a good question. I've personally never used them. I know that there are differences in a sound blanket and a moving blanket that you can just get at Home Depot. I know that there are blankets that you can actually get online that are specifically made for sound. And yes, there is quite a bit of price difference there. I'll be honest, I don't think there is much. If there is a difference, it's probably not much. I've never used those blankets, but I have used other blankets when traveling and stuff, in a hotel or whatever. And so I haven't really noticed much difference even using those, just a duvet cover or a comforter or something like that. So there's probably not going to be a huge difference. And like I said, or like I have said before, as long as you're getting an engineer to dial in your sound for you, once you have everything set up, whatever kind of blankets you use, the engineer can tweak the settings of your effects rack to make sure that it sounds the best it can, no matter what kind of blankets you're using. So I guess that would be my answer to that. So, give it a shot with the cheaper ones if price is an issue, and, just go from there. There's Kirk from Greenville, South Carolina, and Corey from Whitehall, Wisconsin. There's another Dennis in Pasadena, California. And there's Charlie from Sparta, Wisconsin. Sean says, "John Drennan for the win." Yeah. John does a lot of he does a lot of one-on-one coaching for Fiverr people, and, if you're, either new to Fiverr or you're, you know, stalled out on Fiverr and not really seeing much work, he does these one-on-one coaching sessions where he dives in to the granular level on your profile to make sure that all your keywords are right, everything is right, so that you can get the maximum benefit from your profile on Fiverr. So, in addition to doing those Wednesday night webinars for us every week, he also does those one-on-one coaching sessions. And yeah, he's the man for sure. There's JR from sunny Austin, Texas. There's Terry from Falston, Maryland. Talk about being patient when starting your voiceover career when it comes to getting your first paid gig. Patience is key, Terry, and I know it can be frustrating and it can be soul crushing at times. Um, but and that's actually why a lot of people jump on Fiverr because it seems to be a little easier to get jobs on Fiverr, even if they're small jobs, just to kind of prime the pump a little bit and get you used to working with clients and working with scripts and customers and recording and editing and stuff like that. They may not be big jobs, but it's kind of a little morale boost that you can actually get the work and start doing your thing. But you also need to make sure, Terry, that you're fishing with the right bait. That means your demos, everything is top notch so that you do have the best chance of getting work where you're fishing, okay? So if you've got stuff out there and it's not really hitting, then maybe reevaluate your bait and see what you've got to work with. But it can be frustrating, and I get it. There's Rich from Lincoln, Nebraska, and Lynette from Sparks, Nevada, sorry. Feverishly working on my narration demo. Cool. Are you working with a producer on that, or is that a DIY? Remember, if it's a DIY, you're kinda limited, by, just kinda keeping it at that Fiverr level, basically. So once you start working with a producer for your demo, then you can go out and sky's the limit. Either way, good luck with it. Voice 156 says, "Do you have experience with a Zoom H5 recorder during a live session? It would not be used as an audio interface. Luckily, it was only a session with my biggest client so far." Never used one. I know what you're talking about, those little handheld Zoom recorder things. I've never used one for VO, and I honestly don't know anybody who has. So I'm sorry I don't have much experience with that. There's Sarah from Kentucky. Hi, y'all. Wayne says, another potential client says, my contract at the moment is VILT, so no VO is required. Thanks for checking in. Do you know what VILT is? No, I don't, but I don't guess it matters because if they're not using VO, don't sweat it. I mean, don't get too wrapped up. I mean, if they come out and say no VO is required, move along. Just move along. Don't try to figure out what they meant by VILT. I don't know what that means. Maybe do a Google search for it and see if that pops up anything. But yeah, I don't know. Um, but it doesn't matter if they don't use voiceover, just keep rolling. Sarah says, I need to do a chicken voice ASAP. Any advice? Gosh, I do not. I have no idea. Um, You got me on that one. Best of luck. That's never come across that one before. Jim says, "I use a Sherpa blanket opposite the wall I speak toward. Works perfectly." Great, great. Yeah, find something that works and stick with it. That was Lindy B's idea. By the way, he's sound engineer online. Okay, cool. Yeah, as long as you're working with an engineer to get your sound dialed in, you're good. There's Nancy in Yankton, South Dakota. There's Becky from the Mitten. Tracy says, "Good morning from Rochester, Minnesota. On the ground floor, I have thin walls with sand in them, and under the floor, a lot of weight, but cheap and very soundproof." I've never heard of using sand in the walls. That's interesting. And now, is that a booth that you built from scratch, or did you have someone build the booth for you? That's an interesting idea, filling it with sand. And once again, whatever works, however you get to the end result is fine. Remember that one I did I guess it's been a few weeks now, where I said it doesn't have to look good, it has to sound good. Or no, I think it was, if it sounds good, it is good. But same goes for your booth. I don't care what it looks like. If it sounds good, it is good, right? So make sure that you work with an engineer, you get it dialed in. Like I said, our engineer in the voiceover blueprint, he only charges $40 to run an effects rack for you and create that sound, um, uh, the best sound possible in your booth. So it's totally worth it for peace of mind, knowing that from now going forward, until you change something in your space, from now going forward, your sound is good. Peace of mind is worth a lot. There's Tim in Austin. On unions, when joining or leaving the union, what does that price or process look like? Are they usually contracted? I assume you can't just join and leave at will. Um, well, since I'm not in the union, I would not be able to speak to that. That might be a question for ChatGPT or something to explain to you, but I know that there are sign-up fees and stuff. We talked about that the other day, or yesterday. So once you pay those dues, I think that is it's a one-time sign-up fee, and then you've got those monthly dues. I would imagine, and this is just guessing, but I would imagine if you stopped paying those dues, then you kind of no longer have access to all the benefits of the union. So that would be your exit, I would imagine. But since I'm not in the union and have never been in and left, I don't know what that process looks like. You might want to reach out to a union talent and see what they have to say. Lynette says, "Working with the producer on my demo, no DIY anymore." Excellent. That means you can go out and market to anyone in the world instead of being locked into the lower end stuff. Edward says, "Virtual instructor led training." Ah, okay. There you go. Virtual instructor led training, VILT. Live instructor facilitates a training session for courses for remote participants. Isn't Google great? Google is your friend. If you ever run across something like that, an acronym, something like that you don't understand, use the giant robot in the sky. Figure that out. Jim says, "Sand in the walls sounds very effective." It does, right? It sounds good. I mean, it would be a little kind of messy when you first are building it and stuff, and heavy. Boy, I bet that thing is heavy. But hey, if it works, it works. Jay says, "What's a good subject line to use when I'm sending cold emails to direct market so clients don't think it's spam?" I actually mix up my subject line depending on who I'm reaching out to. Sometimes I'll just put Telly award winning voiceover talent because that's what I am. Sometimes I'll say something like, what are some of the others? Question about your process. Um, what are some others? I've got a whole list. Like I said, it depends on the recipient. If I'm reaching out to e-learning, I tailor it to e-learning. If I'm reaching out to TV affiliate, I'm reaching, I'm talking that. So there's a lot of different ways. The idea is to keep it short and sweet and unique. So make, stand out. What are other people doing and don't do that, right? So just keep it short and sweet and something that kind of piques their interest. Jason says, working with Alex right now. Thank you for the tip. Yeah, Alex rules, man. His he teaches our Tuesday night class on tech, and his full-time job is audio engineer. So he's not a part-timer. He's not a hobbyist. That is his full-time job. He went to school out here at in the music conservatory here in Phoenix for audio engineering. So he's not playing. So he teaches our Tuesday night class. He's awesome. So if you want to reach out to Alex, by the way, it's alex@billdeweese.com. Alex@billdeweese.com, and he'll hook you up. There's JJ says, happy bunny weekend from Breezy Spring, Minnesota. We did ours last week, by the way, our Easter. We combined it with a birthday party for my father-in-law and kind of did the whole Easter stuff then. Sarah says, does the VO Blueprint provide any character voice guidance? There is, yes. We've got a class in the VoiceOver Blueprint by Mr. Dave Fenoy, who is a preeminent voice actor and character work. And in fact, you don't even have to be in the Blueprint to buy it. If you go to the VoiceOver Blueprint website and go to the programs page, we've got a program there by Dave Fenoy. He's been on the biggest voiceover or the biggest video games and animation stuff in the world. We're talking Star Wars, um, Walking Dead, I mean, on just all of them. He just got, was it last year or the year before? He just got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Sovis. The so anyway, yeah, go to our programs page, Dave Fenoy character. Check it out. And once again, you don't have to be a member of the Blueprint to buy that. You can just go right to the programs page. Anyone can get that. Tracy says she had somebody make it for her. I guess that's a booth with the sand in it. That's awesome. I'd be curious to see some photos of that. All right. Kathleen says, last day at the North Manassas, Virginia. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you, and you too. A Simple Tailor says, when marketing to leads, how does one learn what their pain points are? Any good resources? Well, that's a really good question. And what I've done, I have actually asked my current clients what their pain points are, because I'd say one client, one client's pain points are going to be pretty similar to others, because they're all video producers, right? And that's one of the good things that I talk about in one of my emails, one of the different templates that I use when I send out my email marketing, or when my assistant does now, to address those pain points. Late work. What are some other ones in there? High rates. Multiple revisions, no attention to detail, that kind of thing. But reach out to, if you've got some existing clients, find out from them what their pain points are. Jim says, do you use isotope filters in your editing? The only isotope filter I use is the declicker, the isotope declicker, but everything else is built in to Adobe Audition. I take that back. I use Waves NS1 for noise reduction. So I only use the one isotope product. JJ says, There's also some old classes where a famous young lady gives tips. I can't remember the date of it, though. Are you talking about in the blueprint? A famous young lady. I don't know. I don't know which one that is. That might have been before my time. Wayne says, "Here's an acronym I cannot Google. WSL gets me World Surf League." Well, yeah. And a local distribution warehouse. I just want to be able to talk intelligently with my clients. WSL. WSL. I do not know. Hmm. Yeah. Honestly, don't know that one. I would put it in, use ChatGPT. It's a little bit better than Google, and just explain more about what it is. What is WSL in the context of video production or whatever, and that might help. All right, guys. Any other questions that we have before we hop out of here and get into the weekend? It seems like today is the day of revisions. I've got several revisions that have come in today that I need to replace for some clients. One is just a few words here and there on pronunciation that I mispronounced. Another is almost a full rewrite. So I went back to them and said, "Look, this is not what I consider just a small revision. This is a lot." So probably going to have to rewrite or reread the whole thing, which means I'm going to charge them again for the whole thing. Commando Slayer says, "When will you monetize your channel? Your advice helps people. You deserve it." I don't know. We're not gonna monetize. I just plus, I don't want people to have to deal with ads on the channel either. So we turn the monetization off every day when we go live. I just not interested in that. I want people to actually be able to consume this info without stupid commercials popping in. But thank you for the compliment, by the way. Thank you so much. Wayne says, "Jim, WSL apparently has something that is used in connection with synthesia." I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Rich says to the WSL question, Rich says Windows subsystem for Linux. I don't know. Sounds right. I don't know what that has to do with video production or VO, but lots of acronyms out there and they mean a lot of different things. Jim says, "In editing, do you ever use the high pass filter to weed out low frequency noises?" Nope, I don't. Because my booth is, once again, I've gotten an effects rack done by Alex, so I know that it's good to go. There is no pass filter or high pass filter in there. I think the only stuff that I have in my effects rack are a little bit of EQ, a little bit of compression, just a tiny bit of compression, a little declick, a little DS, and then my Waves NS1 noise suppression for noise floor. My noise floor natively is just it's right at -60, which is kind of what you're shooting for. But I add just a little bit more to get it just a little below that so that it's completely good. So no, I don't use a high pass filter. Terry says, "Mike, you do a great job. Have you chatted with Bill DeWeese recently? He's a great guy." I chatted with Bill about a month ago, I guess. Yeah. So we keep in touch. He's still doing his thing. He's still doing VO and doing all that. He's at the point of his life now where he wanted to spend some time or more time with his family, and his grandparents, his grandkids live literally 2 doors down from him. So he's always got some stuff going on with them, and that's where Mallory lives. Mallory is his daughter, and so she and her family live 2 doors down, and so he wanted to spend more time with them. So he stepped away from the coaching side of things just to focus on VO and his family, which more power to him. He deserves it. Dennis says, "Thanks for the non-commercials issue." Yeah, I mean, I hate commercials anyway. Although in this business, it is actually kind of nice to listen to commercials sometimes because you can hear kind of what the current um, trends are, in VO. But um, and I actually pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't personally have commercials on any of the videos that I watch. But I don't want to have these videos that I'm doing every day scattered with commercials. That's just a bummer. So we don't monetize. Wayne says, this VILT, WSL, and Synthesia are all associated with e-learning people and L&D professionals, so it's programming. The Windows subsystem sounds logical. Okay, that makes sense. Edward says, do you have bass traps foam on the booth wall you're facing? Yes, I do. I've got bass traps not only running up the corners, but also in the um, well, running up the side corners and then also running in the top corners. So they all kind of converge in the corner from all three directions, from vertical and then two horizontal that meet in the corner. And then I've got a block in the corner. So yeah, that's where all my bass traps are. Bass traps, typically low frequency sound or bass, lives there. And so that's why you should put your bass traps up and in those corners of your booth. I could probably take my no, I can't take my camera off. I've taped it down so it would stay put. I was gonna say I could take it off and kinda turn it up there and show you, but can't quite. In your booth, the one we can't see. I don't know which one you're referring to. This is the only booth I've got. Um, so this is my booth. I don't have a booth that you can't see because this is it. All right. Any other questions before we bounce out of here? I'll give it to the bottom of the hour since we're only 2 minutes away. So hit me with your questions, and hopefully you've got some cool stuff planned this weekend. Bueller, something DOO economics, voodoo economics. By the way, just since we're filling time here, the Dr. Bana Parker's class on mindset is still half price. So if you want to use the code mindset50 from the link below, check it out. You can get that class for half off. That is a unbelievably important class in this business and any business, really. Just your mindset is everything, and we all struggle with it. There's Alexis from DFW. DFW. Jim says, finally got my floor back to -60, but it took using the H5 to do it. No fans running then. That's good. Yeah, I believe that's one benefit from what I've heard of those kinds of recorders is that, yeah, there's no moving parts, so no fans and stuff like that. But if you do have a fan, on your computer, your laptop or desktop. Invest in some cables and just keep it outside your booth, and just run cables into your booth for your screens and keyboard and stuff like that, and just keep everything else outside. I had to do that when I was across the room here in the closet. I had a laptop that would kick on from time to time. The fan would kick on. I tried putting it down low, still didn't work well, so I just put it out the room or out of the closet and ran the cables underneath the door. Of course, now that I've got this booth, it's got port cables or cable ports, so you can run them all out. And I've got a Mac Studio running everything now, and it's outside on the other side of that wall. All right, people, it's it's 9:30. I just looked at minus 60 there. Uh, it's 9:30. So I would love for each and every one of you to have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday morning, and I'll talk way more about that Fiverr class coming up then because we'll have everything set up. But until then, see ya and have a great weekend. Bye now.